Welcome to Desai Academy of class 9th. Second chapter is matter around us pure. Okay, in the previous videos we discussed that the suppression techniques for the mixtures, right? So we are used funnel suppression method, right? Immiscible suppression method, evaporation suppression method. Another one is what? Centrifugation method. There are the three or four types of suppression techniques. Still we are studied what is the funnel, evaporation method, centrifugation method, and immiscible liquids suppression methods. Okay, so these are the some methods already discussed in our previous videos. You want these videos of this chapter means please search in our playlist. You will get all the related videos of this chapter. Okay, we'll now discuss the another suppression method of mixtures called as what uh, called chromatography. Called as what? Chromatography means which is used for the suppression of colors. So you have to separate the colors from a mixtures. That term is used, or the term or the method is used called as what? Chromatography. Okay, so what is the which method we are using to separate the color from a mixture means which method, that is called as what? Chromatography. This is the method we are using to separate the color from what? Mixture. Okay, and the dye in a black ink or a single color. Okay, dye means what here? Dye means not dye, it is dye means what? Color. So it is containing 2 3 or colors, right? So for that, take a thin strip of filter paper. You have to take a thin filter paper, draw a line on it using a pencil approximately 3 centimeter above the lower edge. Okay, you have to take a thin paper slit like this. Okay, you have to take the thin paper strip and you have to draw the line. You have to draw the line above the thin edge, means from the bottom of the above 3 centimeter from the above the bottom. You have to draw a line like this shown in this figure. Okay, so you have taken a filter paper and we have drawn a line above the edge with 3 centimeter, right? We have drawn a line on that filter paper. Put a small drop of ink, water soluble, that is a form of sketch pen or a fountain pen. You have to drop a ink which is soluble in water, like we can use the fountain pen or a sketch pen at the center of the line. Okay, so on as this figure shows, so you have to drop the ink. You have to drop that ink, whether we can use a fountain pen or a sketch pen, at the center of this line, exact center point. You have to drop the ink on this line, right? This is the step 2. Next, after that, adding the ink on that paper, filter paper into jar, glass, beaker or test tube containing water, so that the drop of ink on the paper is just above the water level shown in the figure 2.8, and leave it undisturbed. Okay, after adding ink to this filter paper, when we draw the line on that center of that line, after we can lower these filter paper, that beaker containing water in it. So we have to place the filter paper in a water, that line cannot touch with the water, so we can immerse the filter paper above this marked line. Okay, so as shown in this figure, so you have to immerse this filter paper in the water like shown in this figure. Okay, right? So also we do not disturb this condition until some 5 or 10 minutes. Watch carefully as the water rises up on the filter paper. Record your observation. As time goes on, water particles are getting vaporized because of the heating effect of sunlight. So the water will get vaporizing or starting vaporizing, correct? So after that, what will happen? So the ink that we use has water as the solvent, and the dye is what? Soluble in it. Okay, so the ink is dropped on that filter paper when it is placed inside of a beaker. Okay, so this figure is illustrated very comfortably or accurately. So this filter paper will immersed in this beaker. So when water get vaporizing, so the water vapor also taking the dye particles with them, because the dye particles are what, soluble in the water. So water is what, a good solvent, and the dye particles are dissolving in the or soluble in the water. With the water vaporizing, the dye particles also going with the vapor state. Okay, the ink that we use has the water as the water solvent, means it will dissolve the other substance. Like a dye is what, soluble, means soluble, it is soluble in the solvent like water, right? So as the water rises on the filter paper, it takes along with the dye particles. As due to the heat, water molecules will going upward direction, they will take the dye particles from the filter paper. Okay, so here, so when here water is there, water is getting heated and it will be vaporizing after reaching the filter paper edge of 3 centimeter. So they also take with the dye particles with them, right? Understood? Right. Next, okay, so usually a dye is a what, a mixture of two or more colors. Remember that dye is what, dye is a mixture of two or more colors. The colored component that is more soluble in water rises faster. So the dye which is more soluble in water, that will goes to the faster vapor stage compared to the other particles. Means the dye is a what, the dye is a mixture of several colors, means two or three colors, in which color is combining with water more fastly, that particles will move very easily in the vapor state as water moves to the vapor state. Okay, the colored component that time that is more soluble in water rises faster, and in this way the color get separated. In this method we can separate the color from its mixtures, right? This process of separation of components in a mixture is known as what, already said that. So which type of method it is called? It is called as what, chromatography. Which method? So separation of color from dye is method is called as what, chromatography, right? Here chroma in what, Greek, means color. This word chromatography is taken from the Greek letter. So that Greek letter called as what, chroma means what, color. This technique was first used for the separation of colors. Okay, so the chromatography word is taken from the Greek word chroma, means what, it is meaning of what, a color. This technique is used for the separation of colors. So this name was given by chromatography. For that chromo means color, so for that the term is as what, chromatography, right? So chromatography is the technique used for separation of those solutes that dissolves in the same solvent. Okay, where it is used, chromatography is used for the separation of solutes which are dissolved in the what, same solvent. That the solute is dissolving in the same solvent, in that particular solutions, the chromatography is used for the separation. And the chromatography word is came from what, a Greek letter, right? Remember that the chromatography word is came from what, a Greek letter called as chroma means what, color. Remember that the chromatography word is came from the Greek word called as chroma means what, color. So that is named as a chromatography. With the advancement in technology, newer techniques of chromatography have been developed. Okay, now how the modernizing civilizations, the variety of techniques are introduced by the scientists to separate the color from dye. So this is the one of the method to separate the color from a dye. So we will study about chromatography in higher classes. Okay, and the applications of chromatography, where we are using especially this chromatography method, means to separate the water color in a dye. Okay, this is the first one, already discussed that. So what is that? To separate the color in a dye, and pigments from the natural colors. Again it is a pigments from what? Natural color. And third one, the drugs from the blood. Okay, these are the three major applications of what? Chromatography. What are the applications of chromatography? Colors in a dye, to separate the colors in a dye, pigments from the natural color, and drugs from blood. Okay, these are the three applications or important applications of what? Chromatography. Okay, this is about what? How we can separate a color from a dye, using which method? Chromatography. Remember that by using which method we can separate the color from a dye, called a chromatography. And chromatography term came from the what? Greek. Chroma means what? Color, right? This is the chromatography word came from Greek. That called as chroma word. Chroma means what? Color, and it is used for the separation of colors in a dye, and pigments from natural color, and drugs from the blood. These are the applications of what? Chromatography. Okay, so in next class we'll discussing about miscible, separation of miscible liquids, right? So thank you for watching. Please subscribe my channel, share with your friends and families. Thank you.